All right, here we go. We live. We're live.
Welcome to the TD Report. I'm your host, David Combs, here with Cody Bennett, the Bennett Breakdown. Everyone that's looking for Big Tony and Jody, they are on their way to the Hall of Fame game. So we'll get them. They'll join us here live. Cody, you are in Miami right now, right?
Yes, sir.
You're at the place. So you're at the TD Report you're at the TD Report studio in Miami.
Yeah,
You're
the
at the Miami
headquarters.
studio.
Yeah, yeah, down in the
We've
Miami
got the Hall of
studio.
Fame game tonight. So we officially have NFL football back. Last game was played was the Super Bowl. Guys like us that do this for a living, this is kind of our Super Bowl, but it's the first
Oh man,
full
I'm
game of
so
football.
excited.
It's
I'm
amazing.
so excited.
Um, we're not going to see, we've got the Jaguars and the Raiders playing tonight. We're not going to see Trevor Lawrence.
We're not
We're
going to
not going to see
see
Travis
anybody.
Etienne. You got the list there, right?
Yeah,
So
so Travis Etienne's out. C.J. Beathard. Um, as you said, Trevor Lawrence, Zay Jones, Laviska Shenault, Marvin Jones Jr., Christian
Christian
Kirk,
Kirk.
Evan Ingram, Darius Williams, James Robinson. I mean, Agnew, Josh Allen, Brandon Sheriff.
Our
Literally
boy.
everybody. Jawan Taylor, Cam Robert, their whole O line is out. It's.
Well,
They have. Dev made a good point. They have the extra preseason game, so they're trying to fill those extra roster spots early, which makes sense. They're trying to see the
well,
best of what they got.
get some other guys some work.
Absolutely.
You're gonna get a lot of guys that you normally wouldn't see in almost any situation. When we get to that third quarter, second and third quarter, you're gonna start seeing guys. It's like, wow.
Oh yeah. Well,
Let's be
that's
honest.
that's
I mean,
that's why I love preseason so much because all these guys are playing for a position, so they're
Mhm.
out here balling. This is some of the most intense football you see sometimes. Other than when it comes to like playoff questionable games. But like this is pretty intense because these guys are out here playing for their career. Trying to really make a name and get a spot. And I think you're going to see a little bit of added tempo to these games when it comes to the next preseason week and week 3
okay.
because of that one less game, that we have this year.
Well, we're also going to get a look at former Philadelphia head coach and Super Bowl winning head coach Doug Peterson as he
Yeah.
steps in to the Jacksonville Jaguars situation, which obviously from last season, just turmoil, just
Hmm.
turmoil with Urban Meyer and his staff. And honestly, Cody, things just didn't get going in the right direction for Urban Meyer the second he took that job.
Yeah,
Whether it be with the
I mean, and
turncoat,
I,
I mean,
you guys did like it when I said it a couple episodes back. I think last season that I don't put all of that blame on Urban. I think he was kind of. I put a lot of it on him. Don't get me wrong, but I think he was. I don't think he was wanted there really as much as it was perceived to be from the start. And when
really.
you're working an uphill battle like that, I don't think there's much that can be done.
Do you think there was a blockade or just kind of some kind of rift between Urban and ownership, or Urban
I don't think necessarily ownership until the end, but I do think as far as front office and everywhere else that had to deal with him, I think the ownership was the only thing that really kept him around. Khan was the only one who kind of kept sticking there and like kind of keeping him there until he finally, pulled the last straw and was like, "Now get out of here." But
Mhm.
I don't know. It just seemed like it never went smooth as it could have or should have to say, from day one, like you said. So it doesn't.
Mhm.
There had to have been something behind the scenes.
Okay, let's talk about some other things that didn't get off to a good start. Let's move into some new news or some news that's just kind of hitting. We've got to talk about the Deshaun Watson decision coming down from the special master. Uh, he gets to 6 games, but now news is that the NFL wants to appeal that decision. I don't
Give me a
understand
year.
that. Brought in
Well,
they brought in their own independent adjudicator. Why would the NFL go against their independent adjudicator, Cody?
and I think the reason they brought that independent in, to be honest, was more of a PR than
Okay.
it's all everyone wants an external source now to investigate. You've seen that with the Washington situation. Any situation that happens, they want someone outside of the NFL. And
Okay.
I think the NFL did that more as a PR, but wants to give him the year anyway. They want him to be suspended for a year, and when he got to 6 games, I don't know. I think I think Goodell wants the year, so that's what he's going for.
If Goodell wants a year, okay, in the old system that they had in the previous collective bargaining, Goodell
Right.
was the one making the decisions, right? And
Right.
then nobody liked it because nobody liked the decision. They were either too harsh or they weren't harsh enough. Great. They bring in the independent adjudicator, gives what many perceived as a very light sentence, and I will say this. It was a light sentence, given what he did.
Yeah.
And whether you want to say that it was sexual assault or whether it was more ungentlemanly behavior, whatever you want to call it, conduct unbecoming an NFL player,
There
whatever
you go.
term you use.
Yeah.
Okay. You look at what Zeke Elliott got for the Dallas Cowboys for that assault that he had,
That
right?
he was found innocent on.
And he got 6 games for that.
Mhm.
You look at what Ben Roethlisberger did. There were 2 separate incidents, 2 different women that he was accused of sexually assaulting / raping, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And how many games did he get? 2, 4,
Yeah. I think there's 3, wasn't it?
3?
Yeah.
What is that? So
That was a different era, I feel like, of football, though.
an entirely different era, but we do.
They're talking to Doug right now.
Oh, okay, great. Here on the TD Report with Cody Bennett. I'm your host, David Combs. Kyle, I should have taken.
I see how they got I guess they got Chris Collinsworth's son announcing now.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, he's out here. He's out here.
It's the family business.
Yeah, right. He kind of sounds just like him. Looks like him too.
You know, Cody, you've got another situation brewing down in Carolina, where you've got Baker Mayfield is considered the strong front runner for that job. And I can't help but just look at somebody like a Sam Darnold and say to myself, what happened to his career? You might say he was overdrafted, but I still think he's
I'll tell you that.
I think he's quality.
I agree, and I thought he was quality when he went there, and before he got hurt, he looked quality. And I'll tell you this, Baker may be the front runner, but in camp right now, the one who's making the completions and actually stat-wise looking better is Darnold. I mean, I looked at some numbers, what was it, 2 or 3 days ago, as far as completions over attempts and touchdown interception ratios of the 2 in camp so far, and Darnold's blowing them out of the water. So Baker is still that front runner, obviously, because they gave up. They traded for him. They brought him there to play. They
traded for Darnold.
Bench. Yeah, very
There's
true.
A lot of draft capital. There's a lot of draft capital on those top 2 quarterbacks in that room, and what it appears to me, Cody, this is basically the last dance for both of them. This is their chance to take a hold of a starting job in the NFL and hold on to it. Yeah. And if you're Baker Mayfield, okay, this would be your second team, but he's got to be extremely motivated to get back up on the horse after what happened in Cleveland. Because he had that one good season, then he got injured. It didn't work out for him long term.
Well, I've been saying this since last season. I believe that these quarterbacks are getting drafted too early, and in the process, somewhere between that early to mid 2000s, we jumped from grooming quarterbacks to taking them first pick to 10th pick overall and throwing them right into the fire.
And jacking them in there, yeah.
And I think that it worked for some in that era, and it made sense. But I don't think that's the caliber of quarterbacks that's continuously coming out. And I think that's why we keep seeing these guys that are coming in and struggling year 1 and year 2, and then teams are giving up on them and trading them away. But they're not bad quarterbacks. They simply just need to be more developed and need a little more time. That's one of the main reasons why I keep saying I think this is Tua's year. The fact that he's still the starting quarterback there, this is his 3rd year in the league, he's going to come out and I think he's going to perform. I think they're going to look damn good this year.
He has receivers. He's got weapons.
Yeah. And I was telling Tony on the phone yesterday, I got them taking 10 to 11 wins.
In the AFC East.
That's a bold call, but yes.
That is a bold call because everyone's taking the over. Everyone's taking the over on the New England Patriots 8.5 games.
Mm-hmm. I'm taking. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously going to be between them two. That's who I have.
Something's got to get.
But But I got Miami, who that defense is impeccable, man. That defense is scary. They're scary. I mean, you look at it. I mean, shit. They had a end of season, regular season game against Kansas City last year that played like almost a damn Super Bowl game. I mean, they kept with them neck and neck. I mean, that defense is. I think they picked off Pat Mahomes like what 2 or 3 times that game.
At least
So I mean,
two. I thought it was three.
the defense is scary, man, and they've improved this year. They had a lot of rookies last year that now have their 1 year under their belt on defense.
Okay.
They added some depth at running back. I mean, they got wide receivers. They have all the weapons and all the reasons to succeed this year. And I think they're going to look damn good. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people.
This is supposed to be, or last year was supposed to be possibly Buffalo's year. Buffalo made some moves in the offseason. Okay.
They're favored again this year.
They should be favored again this year. They're a Super Bowl favorite.
Yeah.
Do they take a step back?
Yeah, I don't think they're making it past the conference. I mean, the division.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like Buffalo. I want to like Buffalo.
I do too, but
like
I don't know what it is.
Next step. And
they've been right there for the past couple of years.
The game against the Chiefs
it's the kryptonite.
It was excruciating. It could have
Chiefs
gone
are
either.
Kryptonite, man. It's
you know, and let's talk about some other teams that think that they're the next up or ready to take that next step in the AFC. Baltimore Ravens. Can they make that next step?
not this year, but next year I do think so.
Why not this year?
I think they have a lot of guys coming back off of injury. I think they have a lot of behind the scenes, not necessarily drama, but questions as far as money with their quarterback. And not that plays a big effect, but I think it plays a minor effect on the field.
Okay.
And I don't know. I just don't think this year is their year. I really don't. I think they're going to have a similar season to what they had last year, maybe minus a couple games. But next year is once everyone's shirt up, and if these guys who are coming back off of injury stay healthy this year, I think they'll be good. I got Dobbins pretty high in my fantasy rankings.
Yeah. I mean, another guy that obviously was out last year, that should have been there. So, and we've seen a couple of guys. I think we had a couple of guys yesterday go out for the season at Denver's camp. They lost a couple of guys for the year.
They lost their receiving
number
core,
2 receiver,
essentially.
Yeah. And it happens. Tony says next man up, and you hear coaches say that. But you look at the amount of man games lost to injury last year, and I think you would say that Baltimore might have been the most injured team in the league.
Yeah, they lost 16 starters. We got Jody Coleman here. Let's bring him in. Jody, what's going on?
Jody.
Hey, what's going on? How y'all feeling?
Good. Where you at, man? You on location?
Yeah, I'm right here behind Tony. We on our way to the stadium.
Oh, okay.
Excellent. Jody, we were just talking about Baker Mayfield, obviously moving on to Carolina. Let's get you in here and let's talk about the Browns.
Okay.
The Deshaun Watson situation. Cody and I briefly spoke about it. What do you think is going to happen with this appeal that's going to end up at Roger Goodell's office?
Honestly, I think Goodell's going to go ahead and make that 1-year suspension because he wants to look like the hero. So I'm already preparing for Deshaun Watson to not be in the Cleveland uniform this season. I really believe it was
Jody. Do you think you guys are going to roll with Brissett all year?
I don't think so. I think we may make a move for Jimmy G. We have enough money to pay him for at least one season. And I don't think we want to waste this season with the type of talent that Cleveland has on the roster. Just because Deshaun Watson, just because Watson won't play this year. But I did hear some rumors about the NFLPA may think about going on strike if he comes in to make that decision.
Amari Cooper is hurt as well, right?
Yeah, Cooper had a little ankle issue. They have not.
Does he have a hamstring?
They said it was the ankle hamstring.
Yeah, I think I think it's that same ankle though that he got surgery on.
It'll be all right. He's a professional. Okay.
Yeah, but that ankle's messed him up for the past 2 years. He's missed a lot of games.
If he can play on it, he'll play on it. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it would have to be based. To me, it would have to basically be broken for him to not figure out how to play on it. I've been
Yeah.
impressed with Amari Cooper as far as his route running, his professionalism. You know, is he a
Well, I
thick
think
as
that'll
thieves
give your
type of guy? No,
Donovan
but
Peoples-Jones a big chance.
what's that?
So I think that'll give Donovan Peoples-Jones a big chance.
Yeah, yeah,
If he does miss time, I'm a fan of that kid.
yeah.
But the Cleveland Browns X factor is going to be Schwartz. Is Anthony Schwartz going to produce this year, being a 3rd-round pick? That's going to be the X factor for the Cleveland Browns if he come in and produce at the level that we thought he was going to do last season.
Okay. I appreciate that from you, Jody. You know, if I didn't know any better, I would say you were a Browns fan. I don't know.
Well, you know, when we're going up here to the Hall of Fame, I gotta represent for my Browns all day long.
So is Goodell going to show his face, or is he going to just run in and run out? What do you think?
I believe he's gonna be there. I don't know. He might show his face at the game, but I know he should be at the ceremony for sure because they, you know, last year they had the split ceremony because of COVID the year prior to that. So I think Goodell, if he wants to save face for anything that he's doing, he needs to show up to these events, and he needs to be very visible at these events.
I think you bring up a good point, Jody, about possibly Cleveland bringing in a Jimmy G for a 1 year, like as a stopgap kind of guy. But you know what I think is interesting is how the 49ers have played the long game and the waiting game. The prevailing thought was that they would make moves. They would make moves earlier to move Jimmy G out, and they didn't play their cards until 2 weeks ago when word came down that yes, you know, we're going to go with Trey Lance this year, and then you know you've got Jimmy G just coming in. Then now he becomes a potential guy that you're going to deal.
Well, Jimmy G was hurt too, so he hasn't been able to really do much. But now he's healthy again, so they may still, you know, they have some decisions to make.
Yep. Jody, before we switch to another topic, do you have anything football-wise or anything because we're going to have kind of a compressed time frame, and we had a lot going on here in D.C. with the Juwan Summer trade. We've got the Brittany Griner decision, going to be in prison in Russia. I wanted to make sure we talk a little bit about what you need to talk about, and let's get these other topics through, and then we can go right back to football.
Well, even though I got my Brown stuff on in the Bengal camp right now, Joe Burrow should be ready to roll game 1. He was at practice after having the surgery on his appendix. He should be ready to go. He's going to probably not play in the preseason, but he will be ready for opening day.
Good. Yeah. Hey, stay healthy, Joe Burrow. Jesus. You know, hopefully they get that offensive line figured out. You know, it's just, you know, it is what it is. And he's got Jamar Chase. Keep those two together, man. Just roll with that. You know.
And not to mention T. Higgins. T. Higgins is a very key piece to their passing game. T. Higgins had 1,000 yards last year.
He's a beast.
You know.
Yeah.
So he's very underrated at the wide receiver position. He
was one of my top sleepers last year in fantasy.
Right. He's probably one of the best, if not the best, number 2.
What's that?
Yeah. I said he may be the best number 2 in the NFL right now, you know, arguably, whatever.
Well, you got to have a top quarterback. You got to give the guy the weapons. And, you know, the Bengals did it what I considered backwards. Once they had Joe Burrow, I thought the next pick was going to be a big left tackle, you know, someone to kind of solidify that offensive line. They picked his former teammate at LSU, Jamar Chase. And they took a road less traveled than, say, for example, San Diego. You know, San Diego's got Justin Herbert in his spot at quarterback. And then the next pick that they get a first top pick, you know, they bring in, Rashawn Stanley, big left tackle. And that's the way I would do it. But the way the NFL is now, you know, with that emphasis on that wide receiver spot. When you
Tell Tony to stop chatting up that Uber driver.
What's that?
Cody said I put all that talking up there, Tony.
Tony, leave that Uber driver alone.
Chatting up the Uber driver.
Well, I've got to take my hat off. It's a sad day in D.C. The childish Bambino, our boy Juan Soto, has been traded to the San Diego Padres for a bevy of really good minor league players coming out of the San Diego system. One of them, if you guys don't know, is a local guy from Rockville, Maryland. Went to St. John's. So he gets traded back to the Nats. So he's like the only guy that's coming back that doesn't need to look for a place to live. He can live at home for a couple of months while he finds his new place. So, what baseball in DC, this incarnation, this is the third team we've had. And they've only been in DC since 2006. That's about it. What's that? 13 years, 14 years. 2006. No, it's almost 16 years. It took them 13 years to win a World Series. Okay. And now the bottom has dropped out. All of the best players on that team, there's only one position player left from the World Series team in 2019. And that's Victor Robles. Soto traded. We have a couple of the pitchers left over, but every day it's Robles.
Devontae Adams out here warming up. I think he'll be playing tonight.
Really tough situation for DC sports fans that have latched on to the Washington Nats. You're a Cleveland guy, Jody. You guys have the Defenders. The Defenders have been there for over 100 years, it seems like, right? You guys
right.
Not
to mention my favorite team is the Reds. So, we got the Reds over in the Midwest too.
You got the Cincinnati Reds. Hey, listen, we got a lot of Baltimore fans that listen to this show. You will never hear a Baltimore fan complain about the about the Cincinnati Reds, because we ended up with Frank Robinson, and you guys got Mil Pappas. And to my opinion, it's the worst baseball trade to ever happen, right? I don't know why you guys I don't even know why you gave us Frank Robinson, man. We love Frank.
We made a lot of mistakes in Cincinnati. But talking about Soto, talk about the move to Soto. I think the Nationals, I know it sounds like a bad decision, but the Nationals were going nowhere fast. So why not get a quick rebuild, a quick reboot? And I think in the next 2 years, they'll be back competing because they'll have a lot of money remaining. They'll be able to sign free agents. There'll be a lot of guys that's going to be open. Nationals, they won their World Series. It's a lot of teams that would love to have won a World Series. In this era, Reds being one of them, the Guardians being another one, a lot of other teams outside of the Dodgers in the National League. Atlanta snuck up and won them one, but I can see the Nationals being okay in the next 2 years with the guys that they acquired.
It's going to be a nuclear winter here the next 2 years in Washington. Right now, the Lerner family that purchased the team purchased the Expos from Major League Baseball, brought them to DC. The Lerners are selling the team, and when they leave town, honestly, I just don't think anyone's going to be too sad to see them go as owners. Just a rough situation for them to be in, and it's not a financial problem for them. They're making money off of the team. They're making money. The problem is they've decided where they want to go on salary, and they're
jump out for a minute, guys. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah, Cody's going to step away for a second. I think we're going to see a lot of fans from Washington kind of drop out of sight for a little while, like you said, until the team starts to perk back up. Now, bringing in these young players, not everybody knows everything about baseball. Baseball is probably one of the harder sports to really know what's coming in. When you're talking about guys that aren't drafted in the amateur draft, number one overall, number two, number three, that those guys, they call them bonus babies. They're the ones that get all that bonus money and walking in and have to work their way up through the minor, to get to the big club. So, I'm excited about what's going to happen. I'd like to see some new young players. I know our farm system has been downtrodden for many years because Mike Rizzo, the GM, traded away a lot of capital in order to get free agents, on the roster, build the roster up, win that World Series, and now things kind of fell apart. So, to Washington fans, I'll give you questions for now. But it's hard it's going to be hard to pay major league prices and be watching a minor league product.
But the Nationals have drafted extremely well. They have brought in a lot of free agents and hit on a lot of free agents over the course of the years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and of course, everything comes to an end at some point. And sometimes, if you're not the Yankees, if you're not the Red Sox, if you're not the Dodgers, you have to remake yourself every few years. I mean, look at what the Florida Marlins did. Florida Marlins won 2 championships in the span of 6 or 7 years on basically bringing nothing but free agents in.
6
And
years.
I think that the National 6-year span, and I think the Nationals have an opportunity with the players they acquired to develop them, because they have done great with developing players. Let's go ahead and say, you know,
Yes,
they have developed everybody. Soto was a guy that they developed, so I don't think they have a problem with their minor league system on getting guys up to the major league level. And I hate to say it, they'll get them to that level and maybe deal them so they can bring in veterans and they can get free agents. And like I said, baseball is a sport that you can be good in 1 year. You know, it don't need a long time. Look at what Kansas City did a few years back. You know, so you can be good in baseball rather quickly if you're willing to spend some money. And I think the Nationals will be ready to spend some money.
Excellent. You know, Jody, I mentioned earlier, this is late breaking news. Brittany Griner, you know, imprisoned in Russia, has been found guilty of a trafficking charge over marijuana-laced vape cigarettes. I mean, with marijuana oil. She's going to have to do 9 years. I don't think she does 9 years. I think the Biden administration and the diplomatic channels will be reopened. They'll come up with a way to make the trade and trade. They're going to have to probably give Trump whatever he wants and basically give back what? Gun dealer, gun trafficker, whatever they're going to give back to get this lady back on American soil. This is an ugly situation because we've sent numerous international teams, whether it be youth or senior level teams, to Russia, overseas, wherever. And the idea is we want to get our athletes back. And does the WNBA, does USA Basketball need to consider a moratorium and a boycott on travel to Russia? Looks like we lost Jody there for a second. Jody, you got me? So we'll get Jody back in a second. Looks like we have some technical difficulties. Let me finish my thought on Brittany Griner. My personal opinion is this. I don't know what she did. Frankly, I really don't care what she did in terms of what went into her luggage, what she thought was in her luggage, if something was slipped into her luggage, whether this was a setup or not. I will say this. She wouldn't have been going over there had she been paid commensurate with her abilities, commensurate with what her worth is as a ball player. I do think, even though the WNBA is basically a subsidiary of the NBA, so their revenue comes from the NBA, there's plenty of money out of that NBA pie. Okay, plenty of money. There's enough money there to run that league, run it properly, and pay the women's players a little bit better than what they're paying them. I think the league maximum right now in the WNBA, the league max, I think, okay, Brittany Griner has a super max. And as I recall, I think she makes $240,000 a year. That's the super max. Okay, think about what the super max is in the WNBA. I mean, in the NBA. Bradley Beal has a super max. Okay, and I think he's making something like 35 or 40 million a year, whatever that is. And Brittany Griner's making 240. So the WNBA and NBA, well, the NBA that is, has to sit down and come up with a way to pay these women's players commensurate with their abilities while making money. And that is the bugaboo of the WNBA. The WNBA loses money. David Stern, the late David Stern, who was the commissioner of the NBA when the WNBA was conceived, He said that the WNBA loses, I think he said something like, did he say 10 million a year or something like that? It loses money every year. Now, this money is usually borne by the team owners, and most team owners in the WNBA are NBA owners. For example, the owner of the Washington Wizards is Ted Leonsis. Okay, but when the Mystics became a team, he used to own the Mystics as well. But then he sold the Mystics to Sheila Johnson. And
Sorry about
hey,
that.
Cody, that's all right. Yeah, we lost the fellas. They'll probably jump back on when they get themselves situated.
Okay, cool.
So I was doing a little monologue there. Hopefully it was good, but we'll see. On Brittany Griner, I
I
don't
can't
think
believe that, man. 9 years.
she doesn't deserve to be in prison for 9 years. Okay.
I got more than what she got caught with on my table right here. I mean, what the fuck? 9
Hey,
years in Russia?
hey, Cody's not doing anything. He's having a good time. What Cody's doing is legal. We got to put that disclaimer up there. But
Absolutely.
You're right, Cody.
Legal.
Listen.
But I believe I believe it's legal to her as well, though. I believe she has medical cards.
Of course she does. Listen, if you're playing any type of physical sport, and I do consider basketball a physical sport because they bump into each other, you get banged. You're not getting hit like in football or hockey, but
your joints alone are taking a beating whether you make contact or not.
Yeah. Well, you remember when Michael Phelps, when he was still swimming competitively, he mentioned medicinal marijuana and CBD products, and the public ripped him a new one. What kind of blah blah blah? I mean, do you realize the pounding his body took doing all that?
There's a big reason that they don't test for it anymore in the league. I mean, they understand that it's the pain management is their guys are going to use it regardless.
Yeah, and frankly, whatever Brittany Griner did, I was about to say Britney Spears, whatever Brittany Griner did, I really don't care anymore.
She got caught with a vape, something similar to this that holds extract or live resin. Oil. And that's all she got caught with. That's all she. It's this little vape thing right here is all she got caught with, and she's doing 9 years in Russia.
It's 20 drops. It's like 20 drops.
Yeah,
right?
1,000 hits is what it lasts.
1,000 hits. Okay.
And that's it.
How much in terms of volume is that? It's like an ounce.
It's 1 gram of live resin. 1 gram of live resin. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure the amount that she got caught with, but I know that in all of the references it says she got caught with a marijuana vaporizer. Like basically they worded it a couple different ways, but that's what this is. And most of them come with a gram inside. They last about 1,000 hits. The potency is a lot more. Your normal medicinal marijuana that you'll get is anywhere from 20 to 30% THC, and these are anywhere from 80 to 90% THC.
Got it.
So it's definitely way more potent, but regardless of the matter, this should not be worth 9 years in prison.
No, it shouldn't put you in prison for 9 years, but this is political. It's purely political.
100%.
And, it's 100% political, and the Russians are using this in order to extract and obtain a deal for what they consider a political prisoner over here. Okay.
Correct. What do they call it? The merchant of death.
We're going to do a swap. We're going to have to knuckle under. And I mean, listen, Steven Seagal is not going to pop up. Arnold Schwarzenegger is not going to pop up and fly over there, shoot everybody, and bring Brittany Griner back. Unfortunately, it would make a great movie. We should send The Rock over there.
Right.
We should send
Retrieving Griner.
We should send Rock and Kevin Hart and send them over, and they'll bring back Brittany. They'll bring back Brittany Griner. But that's the movie. It's never going to happen. And unfortunately for Brittany Griner, she's basically being used as a political pawn by Vladimir Putin right now. And,
100%. He just needs a chip to trade, and that's what it is.
Well, Cody, we've been sending international teams, youth international teams, world, junior Olympics and all that over to Russia, overseas to different countries for years and years. And we've never seen somebody get arrested and held back and detained in the way that this has happened with Griner. Why not snatch, I don't know, LeBron James?
Yeah,
Why not?
right.
No, I'm seriously. I'm asking the question.
Yeah.
Why not snatch a high-profile NFL or NBA or Major League Baseball guy and then use him? Why are they doing this with Brittany Griner?
Thanks, Shane.
Shane, yeah, trade the Cowboys for her. Well, you know what? If we tried to trade the Cowboys for Brittany Griner, Putin would probably send the Cowboys back. He wouldn't want them.
Yeah.
What we could do is we could get, why don't we give Russia, we can give them Kevin Hart, and uh, we can put Kyler Murray on Kevin Hart's
No,
shoulders. They could
no,
put
I
a
need
they could put
a
a trench
trench coat
coat.
on.
We could put a trench coat on him and pretend it's a real tall guy. We could paint a mustache. We could
I
draw.
need Kyler Murray for my fantasy team, so he needs to stay.
And we haven't talked about Kyler Murray. We need to talk about him for just a second. Here on the TD Report, I'm riffing a little bit. I'm your host, David Combs, here with Cody Bennett. If you're listening, thank you. If you're watching, thank you. Hit the like and subscribe button. I've got worse jokes than this coming. We're trying to get Big Tony on the show. Big Tony and Jody Coleman are out in Canton, Ohio for the Hall of Fame game. We
He'll be
got
joining in here shortly.
Raiders versus the Jaguars. But unfortunately, you're not going to see any high-profile players tonight. The guys that you're going to see in the third quarter tonight are going to be selling insurance or driving a trash truck.
In the next couple months.
Yeah, and you know what? Those guys, the guys that get cut, that play in this game, the guys that do get cut, they're going to be waiting for someone to get hurt. No, it's quiet without Tony. That's hilarious. They're waiting on, unfortunately, they're waiting on someone to get hurt.
Oh yeah.
Maybe get a call back. When you
Well,
get
I mean,
that
you see,
call,
you got to think though, Dave. Every year, there's a couple guys that stand out in the playoffs who wouldn't have made the team. I mean, I'm sorry, not in the playoffs, in the preseason, that
sure.
wouldn't have made the team, if they don't play the way they do. And we're going to see some of those guys tonight 100%, and the same as we will in the next couple of weeks. Guys that will make the team that haven't really been seen as much as they should have been and are going to look like standout guys out here who can ball. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that as well when it comes to having one less preseason game. We're going to see a lot of a lot of different guys out here really trying to make a name.
Well, what are you looking for in camp? I think that you're looking for a guy in camp. Hey, this guy comes from a small school, or he was a backup player for one of these bigger schools. But God, the guy gets out there and competes, man. He's a dog.
Or some D2 guys, D2, D3 guys who are out here who were signed on. And I mean, the cuts are a little bit different this year as well, as far as the roster amount that's allowed per week and how many players that they have to cut. I mean, I just think that I'm oddly excited for this preseason more than I've been in the past.
For a particular team, or just the health?
Just overall. Okay. I think there's a lot of talent that's out here, and I think a lot of people are going to really ball out these next couple weeks.
I didn't watch as much Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football last year as I normally do. I consumed a lot of Sunday football, obviously, because we were doing the games.
Right.
Be at FedEx. Now the Commanders. We were there the last season of the Washington football team. So I'm real excited this year because now I get a chance to really zero in more on the NFC East. Let's take Dallas out of the equation for right now. I think they get talked about a little bit too much. Let's talk about the Washington Commanders. First year as the Commanders, but they've got Carson Wentz in camp. I've listened to the local radio shows. I've listened to the ESPN 980s. I've listened to WJFK and what they think about Carson Wentz coming in here. My opinion, since he got here, is he should be an upgrade over Taylor Heineke simply because he can make professional football throws. Okay, he can make the deep pass. He can take that deep quarter, deep middle, deep right of the field. He can make those throws. The question is going to be, is he going to have the opportunity to do that? Is Scott Turner going to take the handcuffs off and let him be himself, or is he going to try to fit him into a box and try to make him something he's not? Will the Washington team, were they going to dink and dunk this year, or are they really going to try to get vertical with this offense?
They have to get vertical. I mean, I have them. They on paper have probably the fastest wide receiver core in the league. I mean,
That's saying something.
I 100% believe their full attempt was to get vertical last year. They just simply
Okay.
didn't have a quarterback with the arm to do so. And
Well, he's
now
got to
that,
deliver the football. He's got to deliver the football.
yeah, I mean, you watch the full tapes of the full field in the game tapes of last season, and you see multiple downfield plays that are, I mean, wide open is an understatement. And it's just simply not thrown at because either lack of confidence in the arm and the ability to make the throw, or just making bad decisions, whatever the case may be. You know, there's a lot of missed downfield plays, and I think a lot of the plays were schemed to be downfield. And if you watch the tapes, you'll see it. And I think now that we have a quarterback who can throw a little over 30 yards accurately, we'll be able to see that vertical offense that Turner wants to put into place that Tommy hates so much. But I think we're going to see a different shade of the Commanders this year with somebody who can actually deliver the ball. Not that he's phenomenal with it, but he's capable.
Excellent. Hey, Devin, thanks for joining us. How you feeling, buddy?
Hey, fellas, how y'all doing, man? A little tired, but I'm good. How y'all doing?
Hanging
How's
in there, man.
practice today?
It's going.
It's
A little
going.
hot. Yeah, but we couldn't do
A
couldn't
little.
do it so much.
Hey.
Do it so much in the heat though, so we kind of toned it down and kind of stayed indoors for the most part. You know, I don't want to get myself in trouble, so I'm not going to,
Oh no.
it's a little hot outside.
No.
So,
Well, it's funny. Today it was 97 degrees, and then it rained, and then it's still 94 degrees. So all the rain.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm going to let you chop it up. I got to finish this up real fast. I'll be back in a little bit.
Thanks, Cody.
Yeah.
So we were talking about training camp, and we were also talking about the quarterback position. You're a quarterback guru. You're an offensive guy. When we're looking at the professional game, we're looking at what Washington had last year with Taylor Heineke, compared to what they're going to get this year with Carson Wentz. My premise was, after seeing him in two cities, Philadelphia and then Indianapolis, he can make more throws than Taylor Heineke can. He just has the arm to do it. It's nothing negative against Taylor Heineke. I like the kid. Okay. And I think he's a pretty good backup. I think, he should have probably been a backup the last couple of years. I thought he was good enough to make a roster. And hey, listen, I saw the guys that they had as backups in Dallas. I saw Cooper Rush play. I saw, Donozo. Taylor Heineke's as good as those guys, if not better. I just think, and what I think also is he can consume the playbook. He knows the playbook. You're working with quarterbacks day in, day out, high school, upper level high school guys that potentially are going to get recruited. You get guys recruited, you get guys rides. And, we've got to give you your propers on that. What do you see when you watch a Carson Wentz? If you break him down on film, what do you see when you watch him? Is he damaged goods? Is he going to be able to make these throws? Why is he not entrenched with the team?
With Carson Wentz, I still think sometimes he doesn't trust his knee that's been surgically repaired. I think that's before he tore that knee, he had all the confidence in the world in the pocket, people around his leg. I remember a Monday night game against the Washington Redskins. We were the Redskins, and it was a pile of guys that had him. Remember, he came out the pile, and
he did that against Dallas. I've seen
him
do
against,
it.
And it's like ever
big,
since
strong
he tore
guy.
that AC, big 6'3", 225, 30-pound kid can really throw it, athletic. But I think I think part of the issue has been a little bit gun shy with the knee. Afraid he's going to get hit in the knee the wrong way. And I believe another issue has been, I think he's I don't think he's ever recovered from leading that team so far into what they did, and then Nick Foles got all the love. I think that still stings a little. And I wrote the article about him hoping they wouldn't win the Super Bowl and all that, hoping they lose in the playoffs. And I believe a couple of Eagle players, he got into like almost a fisticuffs with Darren Sproles, who told him, "Come on, man, we all on injury reserve. We just want to win." You know what I'm saying? But Carson Wentz has all the talent that you need to be a starting quarterback in the league and to be a top 15, 20 guy easily. 27-7 last year wasn't bad numbers. I mean, that's a 4-to-1 ratio. I'll take that any day.
The Washington would have taken 27-7
any day of the week. And he could push the ball downfield, which is our biggest issue, which is why everyone played us within 12 to 15 yards of the line of scrimmage, because they knew when, we just couldn't push the ball down the field consistently. That was the issue. Heineke, as you stated, tough, hard-nosed, plays hard, gives us but he just doesn't have the physical tools to make those throws under duress and to, play action the ball and go 50 yards down the field. He can't do that. So teams knew that, and it hurt the overall offense. So I think with Carson this year, Scott Turner has to be willing to marry his system to Carson Wentz's strengths. And if he doesn't do that, Wentz could be we could see the same Wentz we've been seeing the last 3 or 4 years, which is high, low, no middle ground. Just either he's going to be good, he's going to be really bad. No middle ground.
Let's play this game. If Carson Wentz has 27 touchdowns and 7 interceptions and plays 17 games for Washington this year, their record will be what?
11-6.
And if you're Washington and you get an 11-6 out of this, you won. That's a great season.
If you go 11-6, you probably win the division.
Yeah, because I don't think Dallas will be able to. Dallas will be able to match that. I think Dallas is looking at. I hate to say it. Dallas is looking at a 10-7 season this year and a wild card.
If they're lucky,
that's what they're.
They have a lot of holes. They have holes on offense. They have holes in the receiving core that no one. And I know they have probably the best overall. Well, Philadelphia's got a good roster too, and the Commanders roster. And everybody, all four teams in the NFC East really have a really good roster talent wise. The issue is, how will all that come together? Because everyone has pieces. No one is sitting here completely devoid of talent. That's not an issue. The issue is gelling, execution, and the signal callers. Whose signal caller will make the right plays in the right moments of the big divisional games? Which signal caller do you trust the most out of the 4 guys between Dak, Carson, Danny Nichols, and Jalen Hurts? Right now, that has to be Dak Prescott based on his 25-6 record against the division. You have to give him that.
You give him that, and I'll give you this also. I loved what the Giants did with their draft this year. You know I did.
Me too.
Loved it, and I think the Giants are maybe 2 years away from contending. The only problem is that Daniel Jones. I believe this is a contract year.
It is.
This is a put up or shut up year for him.
Yep.
So the question is going to be, we'll see what happens probably around mid-season. We'll see if they're going to announce, that they re-upped him, and kick the can down the road, or if they're going to go in another direction, maybe look to go back, look to go into the draft or look to go free agent. Okay. Let me throw a name out there. Would somebody like a Jimmy Garoppolo be a possibility after this gap year that he's potentially going to take in Cleveland if the 49ers make the deal and Cleveland picks him up for the year, assuming that Deshaun Watson gets a year suspension from Roger Goodell. So a couple of moving pieces in there.
Yeah. I see Garoppolo fitting what Brian Dable wants to do, because if you look, he plays a lot like Josh Allen. He's mobile. He's not as talented. We're not going to say that. But you give Jimmy Garoppolo a running game and a defense, he gets you to the NFC Championship game. No problem, it seems like, so
we know that.
I mean, he was one throw away from winning the Super Bowl. If he makes that throw to Emmanuel Sanders, we're singing his praises instead of badmouthing him. And I said, well, he missed the throw, But let's not act like when he missed the throw, he didn't get hit right in the mouth by Frank Clark, who really got a free shot at him. And he did. He did what he had to do. He got it out there. It just happened to be, Clark should get more credit for hitting him the way he did to throw him off more so than him missing that throw, because the throw was on line. I think he put a little more on it because he knew the hit was coming. It sailed. And that came from just the contact in the chest area. That hurts. That's physical.
I mean, that's football.
Yes. So I think Daniel Jones has a lot of potential. I still think he's not a bad quarterback. I think a lot of it is just he has not. I don't know if it's the development side, because I think he's pretty well developed. I see a lot of things in his technical abilities and his understanding of what the defense is trying to do. It's just he has like these brain fart moments that I just like when he was running and he fell down on his own that night against the Eagles where no one's around. He breaks the whole zone read. And then he has these throws sometime that you go, the guy's got a great arm. He can really throw the football. He's 6'5". He's got good size. He's learned under the Mannings and, their tutelage under, David Cutcliffe and all that. That should ring loud. But I think the biggest issue with him is all the noise in the New York media. That's a problem. That's tough. It's tough up there. That, we're talking about, LA, New York, DC, Chicago. Them places are not easy to play football, not easy to play sports because of the media markets. And you have one bad week, the sky's falling in New York. We know how it goes. So
That's
traditionally he's had.
That's a great segue, Devin. Let's talk about those big media markets. I think I might have asked this last week, but for the viewers, I want to ask it again. What the hell is going on in Chicago? I mean, what are they doing to Justin Fields? I mean, what did this kid do? Here's the thing. They could have left this kid alone and let someone else draft him. They traded up to get him. And now I think they're trying to get this boy killed.
What's going on? I look at their roster and I go, man,
He's talented. What are they doing?
My only hope, and I said this last week, is we give Ryan Poles time to figure it out because he was around Reed, Mahomes, Bieniemy, Peterson, Matt Nagy. He was around these guys for years, so he knows how to groom and get the quarterback developed in the right way. The issue is you hope he isn't punch drunk by the time you get to that point. That's the issue because he's going to take so many shots for such a bad roster. It's a bad roster in Chicago. It's just
their wide receiver room.
Yeah, it's bad.
I mean, and no
it leaves a lot to.
I'm sorry, I got to be careful because I might run into one of these guys on the street. But their wide receiver room, it's devoid of experience, pure talent, and I don't know what's going to happen. I look at Justin Fields and I say to myself, he really needs to step out of bounds. Just get 5 yards and get on the ground. Don't try to take a bunch of hits. Don't try to, break a lot of tackles and let them hold you up so people can hit you some more. I mean, this is what I felt when to switch topics again. When they moved, when I heard that the Baltimore Ravens from their camp, when you started hearing a lot more about Lamar Jackson, that he gained some extra muscle, gained some weight, that worried me a little bit because you're gaining weight so you can take hits.
Yeah.
And I don't think
he gained like 20-something pounds. He's like 230 now. He is not.
It's too big. It's
225, and that's going to hurt his explosiveness. His best asset is his legs right now. Still.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand all that way. I said 220 might have been okay. 230 is just. I think that's a bit much.
He's getting into that Donovan McNabb area from when Donovan McNabb came into the league, he was skinny.
Yeah, he was
and
small.
when he left, he was chunked up. He was solid.
Yep.
I thought that he bulked up a little too much. That's just my opinion.
Well, I agree because he actually never had any touch on his passes that hurt his passes. Remember, when he first came, he was a pretty good touch thrower, and he became a guy that could throw the deep ball, but the intermediate stuff, he would always throw it in the dirt or he would sail because he just didn't have any kind of. He didn't have any touch. He didn't have any touch, and that's what. And people forget, as a quarterback, you want to be strong, you want to be tough, but you also don't want to get to the point where you lose the ability to have touch on the ball, to be able to get the ball in tight windows. And you also want to be able to just have that where you don't have to always feel like you got to control the ball all the way through. You want to kind of, when you play quarterback, the goal is to get the ball out of your hands, but not have to try to guide it. And that's become what Cam Newton is doing at this stage of his broke up body. Donovan McNabb was guiding the ball late in his career, trying to push it, almost like shot putting it to the receivers. And when you got to do that, you're overcompensating for something else, and it's just going to mess up your mechanics all together.
You know, one thing, when my son played baseball as a youth player, he was a catcher. And as you know, the catcher, it's all about the arm. Kid's got a rocking arm. And one time one of his coaches came over and he said, I think you're trying to aim the ball. I don't want you to aim it. I want you to just throw it. Just pop up and throw the football. And it worked out better for him. And another thing I noticed with, you're talking about guiding the football and guys that don't have touch. You're a QB guy. You're a QB coach. You're probably working with some small mechanics with guys. Maybe, you know what? Get a dartboard at home, son. And just that's the, that'll develop that relationship between your fingertips and your wrist. As far as that way, you're not guiding the ball. And then it translates to a football throw. And then that way, you're going to see more guys up here by their ear, up here by their ear with the football and getting the ball to where it needs to go, as opposed to hauling it back and chunking.
Trying to, and you don't have to rock back like that. Rocking back like that, all that does, you may get a little more velocity and a little bit more depth, but it isn't going to be accurate all the time. And that's what I tell guys. I'm real big on not training quarterbacks. I want to develop. I don't believe in training, because training, you can't use the training things in games. That doesn't help you in a game. That doesn't help you with a DN running a 4.4 and 225, 30 pounds in high school bearing down on you. That doesn't help you. It doesn't help you with a corner who can cover a whole half of the field in high school, and you don't, we still want to test that side of the field because we don't want to just be limited to one side of the field. So that doesn't help you with that. So you need to understand developing your footwork. Your eyes and your feet need to go together. Everything from here need to go together. And if it doesn't work together, we're going to have a lot of bad throws, a lot of mistakes, and we're going to do things that we don't want to do at that position that could hurt the whole team. Because when you play that position, I always tell my guys, don't lose us the game. Keep us in the game. If you see it ain't there, eat it, go out of bounds, get what you can get. And if you're not a comfortable runner, just fall down. I live with that. Don't throw it out there, hang the offense out to dry, set the defense up, and giving the other team short fields. We just can't have that. Can't have that. Because we're playing against really good competition. We can't, we don't want to give, we play 5 or 6 games that are really, nip and tuck in this area. 3 games are probably cakewalks, and then 4 or 5 of them are tough. And then there's always that one that is just a 1 or 2 that are real monsters, that it's going to come down to 2 minutes to go and who has the ball last and who's going to make a mistake first. That's the kind of games we play. So if we can limit the turnovers and don't hurt our defense, the defense is going to most likely keep us in most games. They're going to do enough to keep us in game. As the offense, we just need to figure out how to get a few points. We don't need to score 40 a week. We're not going to have that every week. If we can I always tell my guys, if we can get in the end zone 2 to 3 times a week, we should be in every game. Every game. And I don't, because we have a defense. Now, in 2019, when I had those 7, 8 D1 guys, we were scoring 40, 50 points a week. So we were just, first quarter, the games were over. Most games.
Yeah. You just put up too much. You just put up a lot of points. Yeah. We lost Devin. We'll get Devin back. Guys, Devin knows offense. He knows football. He's got his nose in a whiteboard pretty much every day of the week.
Can you hear me? Give me 1 second.
Yeah, we got you. Thanks. So we've got this Hall of Fame game coming up. I've asked Cody this. I asked Jody Coleman this. I'm going to ask you the same thing. We're going to see a lot of guys, as we talked about in the production meeting. The marquee guys are not going to be playing tonight. You're not going to see Brandon Sheriff tonight. You're not going to see Trevor Lawrence tonight. Travis Etienne, not going to see him tonight. We're not going to see the guys that are going to be starting for, Jacksonville. We're not going to see them tonight. There are going to be a lot of guys out here that are not going to be making this team that are going to play tonight, third quarter,
Yeah.
fourth quarter. Those guys are going to be waiting by phone in a few weeks,
Yep.
hoping somebody got hurt. Hey, kid, we like what we saw in practice. When you came in camp with us, we're going to need to bring you in for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
What do you think? Hell yeah, they're going to say that. I was just driving a beer truck. Hey, I was trying to sell insurance.
Yep.
I was in the call
You're right,
center.
man. You're right.
And the reason I say call center, I'm giving a reference to DeMatha's Cameron Wake, and that's exactly what he was doing. Where was he, in White Marsh?
Yep, White Marsh.
The Joker was at the White Marsh working at a mortgage company, man.
Yeah.
And I'm sure somebody was saying, that new guy that just started working here, he's pretty freaking big, That's an NFL player.
It ended up being one of the best pass rushers we've seen, huh? Yeah.
Oh man, he could get home.
And get home in a heartbeat. Yeah.
As Troy Aikman would say, he can get home. He's literally in the quarterback's lap. So there are going to be a bunch of guys that are in that position where someone's going to get hurt. They're going to get that phone call. And I mean, it's a beautiful thing. These guys are trying to live the dream, keeping their body in shape, keeping themselves trained up, getting in camp, and then trying to show that they deserve to be on a roster or a practice squad. Some of these guys, I'm on the practice squad. Oh, I'll take it. That's great.
That's $10,000 a week. That's $10,000 a week. $10,000 a week. And if somebody comes and takes you, and all you gotta do is stay on that because somebody come get you from another team, you automatically get more money. So $10,000 a week is not a bad living to be on a practice squad. I will take that any day and twice on Sunday.
Oh yeah.
So a week. Isn't that beautiful? And
listen,
and you get that call up, and that money goes through the roof when you get that call up. That $10,000 a week is, that is, and then they, on top of the $10,000, while you're on the team, if you want to, you can stay at the hotel that the team uses, and they pay for it. So you're not spending that money to be, to live here. They're paying for that. So that's another advantage. Why not?
You have to be
stay
ready.
here.
And
be ready.
That's why they want you there. They want to be able to just
have access to you. Yep.
In the NBA, they call it the taxi squad, right?
Yeah.
It's basically the same idea. I look at the guys that are, like I said, trying to live the dream. Man, maybe some of these guys went to an HBCU or they went to a D2 school and, they're in camp and they're looking at the depth chart and they know the situation. Man, I'm trying to play wide receiver and they've got like a couple of first and second rounders, bringing in a guy that's making $20 million a year. Where do I fit in? Damn, I wonder if I can play corner. I can cover kicks. I can make some, I played quarterback in high school and in college, I was a running back, but I'll be out here on specials. I'm going to make some tackles. Maybe that gets me on a squad. That was the old Redskins way, the old Redskins mantra was Joe Gibbs would find a couple of guys that, were good offensive players, but you know what, this guy can be on teams for us and make some plays. And that's where those guys have kind of cut their teeth, made their niche. And then the next thing you know, they're in formation. They're, they found themselves a place on the team. This is the best time of year for me in terms of watching football. I enjoy it almost as much as the season because you get to see
I enjoy it too.
young guys,
you get to see a lot of things that you aren't going to see when the season comes around. You're just not going to see it. You're not going to see it when the season comes around. You made a good point. I always tell people, as a Commanders fan, I'm interested to see, even though the backups are playing, a lot of these guys are going to be some of these guys the Jaguars are going to keep, and that's who Washington plays opening day. So taking a look at some of these guys, for me, tonight is going to be interesting because there are going to be a lot of these guys that make the Jaguars roster in some form or fashion. And, not saying they're going to be major players, but they're going to be on the team. And push come to shove, you may see some of these guys in some of their packages. You just never know.
On opening day, you never know. You're right.
Never know. So it's a lot of moving parts.
So, this is once again, mentioned at the top of the show, Doug Peterson's going to step in as head coach here for the Jaguars. I don't think the Jaguars could have done any better on a coach than getting Doug, because you're going to tell me he was sitting around and he's got a Super Bowl ring that doesn't even have dust on it yet. Nope. Let's get him in here. And they basically going to upgrade from Urban Meyer. I think he is a solid professional coach, but I think this is also important for Trevor Lawrence's development. I think he'll be good for Trevor. I think Trevor has a good head on his shoulders. I think he ended up in a kind of a bad coaching situation and tried to make the best of it. This is a big year for him, as he was considered the number one pick in the NFL draft for 2 straight years in
Yeah.
college, right?
Mhm.
Where,
Mhm.
hey, if he comes out as a sophomore, he'd be the number one pick in the draft.
Yep.
And that's a lot of pressure.
Mhm.
He has this season last year. Team's not that good. His number one running back, bam, goes out with an injury. Was that the
Mhm.
first game?
Yep. Well, he didn't even play the first game. ETN got hurt in the preseason.
He got hurt in the God.
He got hurt in the preseason. He didn't play the first. He was out the whole year. He got hurt against. I think it was the 3rd preseason game. He tore his Lisfranc, broke his messed his Lisfranc up, and he missed the whole year.
That'll
And
do
then
it.
he lost his other running back to Achilles Robinson. So he had no receivers, but they did upgrade the receiving core. They got Cedric Wilson from Dallas. They brought in Christian Kirk, who ballooned the wide receiver market with his contract.
He was the tipping point. Yeah,
he was the tipping point. He's the reason why. And I don't know if y'all saw today, Deontay Johnson got some money from the Steelers today, $27 million guaranteed, 36 overall for the next 2 years. So,
hey guys, if you want your NFL, I'm gonna give you a plug, Dev. Guys, if you want to get your NFL skinny, get on this guy's Facebook page, get on his Twitter, follow the Shadow League. This guy, Devin, puts out so much content, and 99% of it is excellent. The one I didn't like today was the one about midgets. I didn't like that one.
You know what, man?
Jerry Jones out here making fun of midgets. Hey, man.
You know what's funny,
man?
man?
Midgets alone. Leave them people alone, man.
My editors, man, they had said something about let's try to find something a little salacious and write about it.
Yeah, whimsical. Hey, listen.
Yeah,
I like the MILF Hunter one. I like the MILF Hunter.
That was
that was good. Yeah.
Yeah. I read one today on, Kobe Bryant's wife telling everybody that DeMar DeRozan isn't the face of the Mamba brand, and that thing blew up. It blew up because, she's right. But at the end of the day, I think sometimes I get what she's saying, but if there's anybody that could be that, it would be him because he's been wearing Kobe's shoes since day one.
God bless Vanessa Bryant. What that woman has gone through is
traumatic,
unimaginable. It's unimaginable. Okay. And the way that she was treated by TMZ and the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department with the disrespect that was done and desecrating her husband and her daughter's memory is I would write a piece on it.
It's just unfathomable.
Write a piece on it. It was disgraceful what was done by TMZ as well. I generally don't like TMZ. I'll just come out and say it. But I know that they're paying people at courthouses and, they listen to police scanners and all of that stuff. But as journalists, there's a certain thing they don't do. You see what I'm saying? There's certain stuff they just don't do. There's a certain way, when I interview people on our show, our platform, I don't ambush anybody. I talk to them beforehand. Hey, what's off limits? Can we talk about this? Can we talk about that? And people will say that I'm spoon feeding it. But at the same time, what I'm saying is there's a basic respect that comes from being an interviewer to an interviewee. Okay. And if that respect isn't there and that trust isn't there, I'm never going to get the answers that I need from somebody when we bring them on the show. We don't throw softballs here on the TD report, but we're going to ask the questions. But at the same time, there is a basic respect there. Again, Vanessa Bryant, she could say whatever she wants at this point. I'm not, I understand where she's coming from with that. Your point is well taken. DeMar DeRozan is probably about as professional and as gentlemanly as a guy you're going to find in the NBA as far as doing what he's supposed to do, when he's supposed to do it, how he's supposed to do it, keeps himself in shape. And literally all he does is go from place to place and score points and get buckets.
That's all he does.
That's what he
does.
Get buckets.
All he do, get buckets. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, if I could liken him to an old school player, the way that he plays, he really reminds me of like an Alex English type of guy.
That's a good comparison.
He's a toolbox. It's okay. I can't do this with this guy that's defending me. I'll just go to something else. And he's going to get his buckets. I thought that him going to I thought that, when he went to the Spurs, I thought, okay, this could work, but just didn't quite get
Didn't
to where
quite.
it was.
Then yeah, it was a lot of other things going on around that team, which is
I thought
rare.
him
I
and
think.
Pop would work well together, though. I thought he was a
Yeah, I
Pop.
thought they
I
would
thought he
too.
was a Pop kind of guy, and
Yeah,
the Spurs tend to get it right more than any NBA team. They get their kind of guy.
I think
You
the big
know,
issue with him and Pop was Pop is a guy that wants the ball to move, and with DeMar it sticks a little. When he gets it, it
yeah,
doesn't really
yeah,
move much.
yeah.
And I
But
think
you
that
got to
kind
let
of
the
was
man
a
work.
you gotta
You
let him
got to
work. And
let the
Pop
man
did. I
work.
give Pop his credit. Pop let him play, but I
Yeah.
think to a man, Pop still wanted to run his motion flex offense, and DeRozan being in that, it had nights where it looked good and it had nights where it looked really jagged. And I think at
Hmm.
some point they came to a decision that and Pop is the kind of guy you're not going to win. I mean, we're not winning on championship anytime soon. Let me let you go somewhere else and maybe have a shot
Sure.
there because you've earned that. The same thing with the DeJounte Murray, a guy that
Oh well.
a young guy that is very good with the ball. We haven't really seen him without the ball. That's going to be interesting in Atlanta with him and Trae Young this year, with Trae being so ball dominant. But that's why Pop didn't have no problem trading him. He wanted him to go somewhere where he could maybe really shine and play more with the style that he's comfortable playing. Because everyone can't play in the Spurs system. It takes people like Parker and Ginobili and
Hmm.
Duncan and
Yeah.
Kawhi Leonard, guys that don't really need the basketball to be successful and can still do other things to help your team when they don't have the ball. And
Well,
that's what was amazing about the Spurs.
well, what I love about what Atlanta did, making the move. Uh, they've got some punch. They've got some pop to that lineup. I do think that Trae Young is a smart enough ball player. I think he's savvy enough to know I've got to heat this ball up. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
the ball is going to have to move, and then I have to, because he's been, like you said, he's ball dominant. But when he's ball dominant, that focuses defenses on him.
Mm-hmm.
Once he gets rid of that ball and moves to the other side of the court, he's going to shift. He shifts the defense because heads have to turn. Okay, you got to keep your eye on where this little joker is,
Joe can
because
play,
if you
man.
lose him in space, you
He's
see in
gonna
the
make you
old
pay.
days, a guy like Allen Iverson, if you lost him in space and he cuts to the basket and you lose him, he's going right to the rack and he's getting a dunk or a layup, or you got to foul him, or all
Mm-hmm.
three,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
With with Trae Young, if you lose him in rotations and they find him with that basketball, that's a three. It's a bucket.
Mm-hmm.
And where Allen Iverson wasn't going to take that three and hit it consistently, the NBA is different now. They've got guys that are built
That can
like
stick it. Yeah, can stick it.
that are
True.
built like that. I
True.
mean, I'm sitting here watching, and I generally don't watch youth games, but LeBron James's sons, Lil Bronny and Bryce, the baby, they're impossible not to watch. And what I see from them is what I hope what everyone else sees. They're not going to play above the rim like that. That's not what they are. And that's okay. But what I do see is I see two kids that are better jump shooters than their old man ever was in high school. And I see it already. Okay. And if Bryce keeps growing, they keep feeding that joker his vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
What is he now already? 6'6"?
6'6".
And
15.
long legs. He's got room to grow into that body.
And
If he gets to be like
he's
6'8",
left-handed. And he's left-handed.
Wow, yeah.
And he's
And got a
left-handed.
pretty stroke.
It
Got a
got a
pretty
pretty
stroke.
stroke. He's
Got a
tough,
beautiful
man.
stroke.
Yep.
Watching Carmelo Anthony's son and
Yeah,
watching
he
him
can
work
play
with
too.
dad.
He can play too.
And
Yeah.
I know you saw the most recent video where he's teaching him how to use his pivot and
Oh, yeah.
teach him get people off you. And you got to put your shoulder into the guy and establish your space. But nobody did it better than that, because that's what Carmelo's game was. You could try to crowd him and try to make him put the ball on the floor, but he would just give you that the shoulder, to try to get his pivot, and then he could just step back and take his J. And you
I told
watch the
people he
way
was
that
the triple threat king. Triple threat king. He was what the
watching the
triple threat.
college,
He was what the
watching the way
triple
he
threat
played in
was
college
designed
was
for.
amazing,
Yes.
right?
The triple threat stuff that he did, like a lot of guys claim they're triple threat guys. Like a lot of guys claim they're really 5-tool baseball players, and you go and see they really aren't. Carmelo Anthony was a definition of triple threat. He had the ability to do everything with the basketball. He could score, he could assist, he just had the whole thing. He could do it all. He could do everything.
You want to get in that triple threat position and he
Yes.
would do that every single time. And watching him in college, that national championship year for Syracuse, he was amazing.
He was the
Just
difference. He was the difference for their team. No one in college could do the
mhm.
stuff he did that year. That's why they won it. They literally, every time they needed a bucket, things got tight. He either got a bucket for himself or he created one for that kid, Jerry McNamara, that knocked down all the threes.
The mayor of Scranton.
The mayor of Scranton. That dude didn't miss, man. That dude
Nah.
didn't miss.
And what's scary about Jerry McNamara? I think guys like Jerry McNamara and Travis Ford, I think they were ahead of their time.
Yeah, if
Dennis
they were
Scott,
playing now, they'd be NBA players
Mark,
right now. If they were around,
Mark
they'd be NBA
Price.
players. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Guys,
Travis
guys
Ford, I
like
forgot
that,
about him.
that,
Yeah.
and Mark
Teddy
Price was
Dupay.
the
Remember
last
Teddy
one
Dupay?
that, huh?
Teddy Dupay. Remember Teddy Dupay?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Teddy
Yeah.
Dupay, yeah.
Teddy
Yeah,
Dupay,
them
yeah.
kind of guys, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, when you look at a guy like a Mark Price played. Did he play his entire career with no 3-pointer?
No, he played. The 3-pointer came in '85. So he played. How many years did he play for after '85? He was around till what? The early
86.
'90s.
No, he
So
wasn't that far because he was drafted in '90.
okay, so he did get to see this. So he did play his career in the 3-point line. He did.
Okay, so
He
he was
just
the
didn't
first
take as
one that
many as
got
he
it,
probably should. He was
but they
very
weren't using it.
passive. No, they weren't using it like that.
The same way that they use it now,
No
right?
way. But if they were,
But
he ran on, man. Yeah.
oh man, or a guy that did get to play with the 3 would be a guy like Chris Jackson.
Yeah.
And even
Mahmoud.
then, they
Yeah.
didn't use the 3 like they do now. So if you
Yep.
would bring in a Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf and put him in college basketball now as a 17 or an 18-year-old freshman, he might score 60 points.
Yep.
He might put 60 on you. And the only reason he was able to put 40 and 50 on you was because he wasn't shooting the 3 as much. It wasn't used as a tactical weapon.
True.
The only coaches that were really using it were guys like Rick Pitino. Rick
Yeah, he
Pitino
was
was
looking
really,
at. Yep.
one of the first that really took it to that next level. And even an old school guy like a Jerry Tarkanian didn't use the 3 that much. Coach K didn't use the 3 that much.
I think Nolan Richardson pushed it a little. He was using it a lot in his offense.
Nolan Richardson, I think, was one of the first examples of what we call now pace and space. They were
40
pushing
minutes
the
of
ball
hell. 40 minutes of hell,
tempo.
Yeah.
Pushing that
It was
tempo.
tough.
But then he also had some bigs.
He did.
Had Corliss Williamson, Big Nasty, who is about as underrated a basketball player because you look at his size and his girth. Guy had great hands, had post.
He had the whole package, man. He was the. I always tell people it's crazy. He was Lonnie Baxter, the more in shape Lonnie Baxter before Lonnie Baxter, because Lonnie Baxter was not the most in shape guy, but nobody could guard that guy. He was literally a nightmare around the rim. It was like.
He was a bull. He was a bull.
A bull, and had the best footwork and the best touch, and just had the whole everything. And when you watch him, you go, Lonnie Baxter was like 6'6", 6'7", and you would sit there, and you would go, guys 6'11" and 7 feet can't stop this guy. I remember
because he's too strong. He was
killing.
He was just too strong, man. I mean,
remember how good Emeka Okafor?
What's that?
Remember Emeka Okafor? How good he was defensively?
Yeah.
Remember they played UConn in that regional final, and Emeka Okafor had no answer for him. I was sitting in the house. I'm like, Okafor literally can't stop this dude from scoring. Like, he literally is the defensive player of the year in the Big East, and he has no chance of guarding a guy. No answer for him. Lonnie was dip that shoulder in and shoot that little off glass hook, and man, it was tough. It was tough trying to guard. It was tough.
That was a tough game for the Terps. And I would say this: if Caron Butler had been able to show up for the first half, UConn wins that game because I think he had. Did he have 36 and like 34
36
second half?
Yeah, he was unbelievable.
Caron Tough. That was my first time really knowing Tough juice. Caron,
some of them shots he made, man.
He got him in Maryland, but you know what? That was such a great time for Maryland. That was just those 2 seasons. Maryland should have won both national championships.
Yeah,
they should have won in 01. They definitely won it in 02. Came back, ran the table. Should have won it in 01. I thought they got jobbed. The national championship game should have been that year. The national championship game should have been Maryland against Arizona, and it would have been a great one.
Been a
It
great
would
one.
have been a great game. And
Yep.
Arizona still should have beaten Duke. It was
Yeah,
the
they
refs.
should have.
I'm sorry. I
It
don't
was
care what anyone
some very bad calls in that game.
says.
Very
It was
bad.
awful. I mean,
Very
Jason
bad.
Williams must have fouled. Jason Williams should have fouled out at half. They
He
just let
was
him do whatever he
he
wanted.
he knocked Jason Gardner down like 4 times in that first half, and I kept saying, "Wait a
What was
minute,
that?
like what? You're not gonna like?" And then the bad part though, Dave, is he didn't just get away with it. They scored on the other end. That's what made it even worse. They hit a
That's a
3.
killer.
They hit another
Yeah.
3. Then they got an and one. Then they hit a pull up, and I'm like, that's 11 points right there. That's 11, and they won by 10. So you look at the final score and you go, 82-72, and those fouls they missed were very, very questionable fouls, and you have to call those in those kinds of situations. You have to call that. You have to call that kind of stuff.
We've talked with Tommy about officiating, so I don't want to get the officials that are out here. Hey, by the way, if you're an official or you're a coach and you're coaching youth sports at the rec level and you're doing that for the kids, thank you. I don't yell at refs. I don't yell at umps. I've seen my kid get rung up on some BS. I don't say anything. I'll mention it in the car to my son. I'm like, damn, you got jobbed on that second at bat, and we can laugh about it. But me and my son, my son is like, look, he's not playing to go to Stanford to play baseball. He's trying to get to Stanford to get that full scholarship academics. So he understands where his bread is buttered. And so that's why getting enraged at a game official at the level that I'm at, different. Now, if you're Gary Williams and you get upset with the game official because you've got $1 million contract, couple of $1 million, and that's what you do for a living, I get it. Okay, that's a different story. Now, obviously, there's a limit to everything, right? But at some point, you're right. The refs got to call it. They've got to make
call it. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely.
So,
hey, look here, man.
You
give me
about to
10
get
minutes. I gotta jump off. I gotta send some work in for my stuff tomorrow.
it.
So give me 10 minutes. I'm gonna
man.
jump back on. Give me about 10 minutes. I gotta jump back on, okay? Are we still waiting on them from the stadium?
Yeah, I'm gonna hold it down. Yeah, I'll hold it down.
Okay. Give me 10 minutes, I'll jump back on. Let me get this stuff into my editors, okay?
Devin from POV Sports, everybody. He's got to go put a story in. He's prolific, baby. Get on his site and read his stuff. This guy's excellent.
Appreciate you.
And MLB Bros. Definitely hit that
man.
too.
Check that out. Yeah, we'll talk. The Juan Soto. So I wanted to talk about that. So when I come back on, we maybe chop up about that a little bit. Okay.
Jump in there and do that. Perfect. Thanks.
All right. Appreciate you. All right, man.
Appreciate you. Hey guys, we're still rolling here on the TD Report. My name is David Combs. I'm your host. We are waiting for Tony Kennedy to get online with us. He is going to be live from Canton, Ohio at tonight's NFL Tilt to kind of start the season, the Hall of Fame game. Jacksonville Jaguars against the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders. Real excited about this because it's going to be my first time to see some real football instead of YouTube. I've been watching a lot of YouTube football, folks. It's driving me crazy. Got to get some football. Got to get my fix. We really appreciate you guys joining us on the show. Definitely, if you'd like to be a part of it, definitely hit us on the chat and hit the like and subscribe button. If you hit the subscribe button, that way you'll get the notifications when we go on. We really appreciate all of your support. Tommy, Bill West, Wayne the Voice, Shane, Mr. Hilliard, thank you, sir. We appreciate all of you guys for joining us and just supporting us through this. Definitely trying to get us on a bigger platform. But for now, we love talking to our family and friends here. Definitely hit me with a text on the chat. I'll try to get you on the show. And again, we're just waiting for Tony and Jody to hop online here on the TD Report so we can talk a little more football. One thing I wanted to pass along to everybody, we talk a lot about youth sports on the show. We want to encourage all of our youth that are athletes out there, hit the books. School's about to start in about, 3 weeks? Get in school, and when you get to school, that first couple of weeks, that first quarter, get your grades up in the first quarter. It's a lot easier to keep your A average if you get A's in that first quarter than it is to get a C and then try to bring a C up to an A. So start your season off, start your high school year off really well. Hit those books off the jump, okay? That goes for everybody. Athletes, not athletes, cheerleaders, chess team, math team, it don't matter. Now, a lot of you guys are probably wondering why I'm here on the show by myself. Well, I'm waiting for Tony and those guys to jump on, but for now, you're just going to have to listen to me talk a little bit. We talked about a little bit earlier with Cody and Jody about the Brittany Griner situation. I'm going to go back into that. One of the things that bugs me the most about the Brittany Griner situation is just the way that this is being handled and that it's turned political. Um, what's to stop a sovereign country like, say, a Russia from stopping anybody from coming into their country on the athletic side, be it a World Youth Games, the Olympic team, or let's just say it's a basic college team that's going to go over there and say play against a Russian, Russian semi-pro team or something like that, whatever the case may be. We saw a situation a few years ago when Georgetown University went over to China and played against the Chinese Army team, and there was a fist fight. There was some rugged play on the court, and then a melee broke out, and where there were players from both teams on the court. One of the Georgetown players grabbed a chair. I mean, it was just mass hysteria out there. That could have been a major international incident. And the way that Georgetown University, the way that John Thompson III, who was the coach at the time, the way that he handled it, it simmered a lot of tension. It kept things from getting way out of hand. Obviously, Georgetown's team was not incarcerated, or as they call it now, detained in China at the time. Thank goodness for that. It would have been an entire mess. But now we see, many years later, we see a situation where Brittany Griner is going into Russia and she is detained. And she's been detained there now. It's going on 6 months. And at first, no one knew she was gone in terms of the national media. She had literally was quote unquote disappeared, where nobody heard from her for weeks until finally the announcement was made of where she was and what had happened. This is awful. Don't want to see this happen. For those of you who don't know, Brittany Griner was sentenced today to 9 years in a penal colony for a drug offense. And even spending 9 days in jail, okay, if you shouldn't be there, is 9 days too many. 9 months, 9 weeks, 9 months, and then potentially 9 years. So it's my hope that the Biden administration, through diplomatic means, can make the inroads with Vladimir Putin. If there's supposedly a prisoner trade that Putin wants to be made, the United States doesn't want to make it. I won't get into who the individual is that they want to trade for. That's not my forte. It just seems to me like just a bad situation all the way around. I don't think that incarcerating Brittany Griner for Russia is stopping a major drug trafficker, okay? I don't think she was trafficking. I think this was basically a setup. I think that they used her and they're using her as a diplomatic pawn to get what they want from us, the United States. Again, I won't disparage anyone in the Biden administration or in our diplomatic community that's doing the best that they can to make inroads in order to get Brittany Griner back on United States soil. But I will say this. The idea of going to Russia or going to almost any sovereign nation like that is unfriendly to the United States, to me, seems like a bad idea. Folks, when you're going to travel, just be careful. I can't speak to whether you got set up or whether you want to bring a vape pen or something that's illegal overseas. I don't know. But just be careful when you're overseas. Our laws mean nothing overseas. Just saying that you're an American isn't enough. That's for the movies. You always see it in a movie where somebody gets rousted in another country and they say, you can't do that to me. I'm an American. Guess what? You're not in America, buddy. Okay. Our laws mean nothing to them. Our way of life means nothing to them. And just like when somebody from another country comes here, their laws mean nothing here. They're under our laws. Okay. Supposedly they have constitutional protections here, even if they're not a citizen, but that's another story for another time. I have a couple of friends that are really into constitutional law. Maybe we'll get one of them here on the show. We can talk about that another time. So, again, we've got the NFL Hall of Fame game coming up. It officially kicks off the season for the NFL, or for the calendar for football. We'll start to see some preseason games coming up, exhibition, see some guys get out there, crack the pads a little bit, and then we'll move into the season. So why don't we talk about some of the things that's going to happen this year? We don't know. Number one, we don't know if we're going to see Deshaun Watson this year. His 6-game suspension that was handed down by the special adjudicator that the NFL brought in is now under review by the NFL. The NFL wants to appeal that decision, and all appeals will be handled in the person of one Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell will be making the call on whether Deshaun Watson gets a 6-game suspension or he gets a longer suspension. My opinion, the season is 17 games. The special adjudicator gave Deshaun Watson a 6-gamer, okay? I'm going to go into my crystal ball. I'm going to predict that Roger Goodell gives Deshaun Watson, I think he gives him a 10-gamer, okay? I think he gives him a 10-gamer and he fines him $7 million. The prevailing thought is he's going to miss the entire year and get fined $8 million. I think Roger doesn't go all the way to a full 17-game season. I think he stops short somewhere around 10, 11, maybe even 12. I don't know if he goes that far. Okay. I just don't see it to where he's going to miss the entire season. He sat out last season, missed it. I don't see him getting the whole season. I mean, hopefully, if you're a Browns fan, I'm pulling for you guys. I don't want to see this happen. But, if Roger Goodell comes down and lays the hammer and says 17 games, at that point, do you go to a Jimmy G? Do you trade more draft capital? And, with your roster, price to move. You think your roster is ready to be a Super Bowl contender. You need that linchpin. You need that trigger man. And do you sit up for a year and just go with a Jacoby Brissett? Or do you upgrade and go to a Jimmy Garoppolo? If you do that, if the 49ers are able to extract draft capital for Jimmy Garoppolo to move on to another team, the way that they played the slow game, the long game in terms of holding on to Jimmy Garoppolo, that took nerves of steel. That took some balls. I got to give them credit for that. My thought would have been, as soon as I decided, hey, we're going to go with Trey Lance this year, going to go with the younger quarterback. We drafted him high. Let's make the move, right? I would have moved Jimmy Garoppolo months ago and just handed the reins over to a good kid who wants a job. I would have gotten rid of him. I would have gotten rid of Jimmy G and moved him along, gotten what I could get for him. But now the price on Jimmy Garoppolo goes up a little bit. And if they wait a couple more weeks as camps move on to their second full week, NFL training camps, a quarterback could go down, a starter. You never know. And depending on the team, if they feel like, wow, if we lose our starting quarterback now, and we don't get a quality guy in here to run the team for that year, we've basically given up a year on our timeline. These Super Bowl or playoff windows don't stay open forever. They're very, very small. You see them doing here? They're very, very small. So once you've got your roster set, you're ready to go, and you've got that 4 to 5 year window, you don't want to give up a year. Okay. Now, if a guy goes in during the season and gets hurt, okay, that happens. Okay. And we've seen it happen many times. But what we don't want to do is sit on our hands. If we know that there's a guy out there that potentially can get us to that next level, or hey, he's a bit of a cut above of a 1-win playoff type of guy, he can win you a couple of games in the playoffs, maybe even get you to a Super Bowl because he's done it before. You maybe give Jimmy Garoppolo a call. Well, you give the 49ers a call and tell them you want to make a deal. And that's just kind of how that works. Okay, moving on. Let's talk a bit about the Kyler Murray situation again. The Arizona Cardinals had signed Kyler Murray to a long-term extension. It was about $230 million. It would have been, I think he was going to be making an average of $46 million a year. That would have started next year. So he's still in his rookie deal this year. So this is the small amount he's getting paid, according to the big amount he's going to be getting paid the next year. So in the aftermath of the announcement of the signing, you started to hear leaks or things come out, and we don't know exactly where it came from, but we can have a generally good idea, where there was a study requirement that was placed on the contract. And the study requirement required that Kyler Murray study the playbook or game plans or team film
for, I believe it was 4 hours a week away from the facility. In other words, an NFL player, especially quarterback, well, any position, you sit in team meetings a certain amount of time, and then your starting quarterback, you guys, it's real important to the team. They're going to sit with the coach, just them, and just work on things, right? The prevailing thought was that this clause being added into the contract meant that the Arizona Cardinals, the organization, thought that Kyler Murray wasn't studying enough. Okay, so let's talk about this. Was Kyler Murray studying enough? Last year they went 11-6 and went to the playoffs. Okay, he was, I believe, the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. Right? Okay, he's made a couple of Pro Bowls. Okay, I didn't say All Pro. He just got to go to the Pro Bowl. So for a young quarterback coming into the league, this I think would be his third year. He's doing pretty good. Now, does he need to study more? Sure. But did it need to go on the contract? Probably not. But here's what's worse. That contract language got out. Once it hit the media, then you've got the bloggers, you've got the ESPNs of the world that are going to speculate. If I would say this, if the Arizona Cardinals were stupid enough to give a guy $230 million that they didn't think was good enough to get them to that Super Bowl, to get them to that next level in the playoffs, why are you giving them money? Okay, so in that regard, if the Arizona Cardinals were the ones that leaked the information, which I don't think, I think this leak, my opinion, I think it came from the league office. And what I mean from the league office is the league office reads or gets a copy of every contract in the league, from the long snapper contract all the way up to your first string quarterback that's getting the $40 million to $50 million to $45 million a year contract. Okay, so all those contracts go to the league. So the league knows what's in everybody's contract, down to every where to for and therein and furthermore, right? Somebody from that league office that's responsible for reading these contracts, somebody let that information out. And it hit the media, and it hit hard. Guys, last week it was a firestorm to where Kyler Murray himself had to come out and make a statement. Okay. And as we talked about on our show here on the TD Report, we talked in depth with Tony, we talked with Jody Coleman, we also talked with Devin Mason. We had the four of us on the show. We talked about what it meant to the NFL that three high-profile black quarterbacks, and in those persons we would be talking about Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, and Pat Mahomes, that were basically had their games impugned, two of them by anonymous sources. When I mean anonymous sources, we're talking about what they said was a veteran a defensive coordinator was making comments about these individuals, okay? And saying that about a Pat Mahomes who has a Super Bowl ring, say that about Lamar Jackson who has an MVP award, and saying that about a Kyler Murray who, was a top 10 draft pick in two sports. It's disrespectful. It didn't need to be said. It shouldn't have been said. And frankly, whoever said it is a coward if they can't just come out and say it. Now, listen, if I thought that Kyler Murray was not studying enough to be an NFL quarterback, if I had direct evidence, you can say it, okay? If you can back up your words. But if you're the type of journalist that sits here and says something to a blogger or says something to somebody at Sports Illustrated or ESPN.com, but you don't want your name attached to it, you just shouldn't be allowed to. You just should. I would say from the journalistic side, you shouldn't print it. Okay? This is somebody's personal, professional career that's being impugned. And if somebody wants to say, hey, listen, I don't think Lamar Jackson can hit the broadside of a barn with a football. Okay? If you want to say that and you're a defensive coordinator, you know what? Say that into a live mic, or look into a camera and say it, or say it right there on the sideline. Okay? If you're the defense coordinator, if you want to say that about Lamar Jackson, yell it out to him. Hey, Lamar Jackson, you can have the skinny post if you want, but I don't think you can hit it. Let him throw it. And if he hits that and they score, you know what? Take your loss. Okay? But don't sit here and get on the internet or get onto ESPN.com and make an outlandish claim, but you don't want your name attached to it. That's cowardice. That's just whack. And ESPN.com, ESPN, I'm talking to you, or Adam Schefter, whoever is listening to these jerks. If somebody says that to you in confidence, it should not go between the pages of anything. Okay. Now, if somebody says, "Hey, I think this coach is doing this," or "I think this coach is doing that," and it's illegal, like something illegal, then okay. You want to stay anonymous, then stay anonymous. But we're talking about competition here, folks. If you got something to say about somebody on another team, you should be man enough to say it. Hey, I don't think this guy can block me. Okay. But I'm not going to sit there and say, "Hey, don't use my name." So it'll be a highly placed source with the Browns says he doesn't think that he can block Myles Garrett. Bruh, nobody's been able to block Myles Garrett. You should be able to say it. If you think you can block him, then damn it, get him blocked. And say you can get him blocked. Prove it. That's what NFL football is. It's a show and prove league. It's a win or lose league. So here's what I'm going to do. Guys, I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to jump off for a second. We're going to get Big Tony and the guys back on here. We appreciate you listening. We are going to be back. I'm going to take a step away for just 1 second, okay? So join us back here. Hey, hit the like and subscribe button. If you hit the subscribe button, you'll see me when I get back on here, okay? Thanks a lot, guys. I'll be back.